Well, there's been a lot of talk about net run rate in Group B over the last few days, but England have put all of that to bed by hammering Oman in Antigua with 101 balls to spare, taking their net run rate from -1.8 to +3.1, which crucially is above Scotland's. Aaron Finch, that was about as emphatic a win as England could have hoped for in response to an underwhelming performance in their opening full game against Australia.
Yeah, it was. They were clinical from the outset today. I think they brought the right intensity. I think the selection to get Reece Topley into the side was a really good one, especially for the second half of this tournament. Wood and Archer were just too quick for the Oman players, and Adil Rashid was at his absolute best. So I think a game that lasts 16 and a half overs suggests how emphatic it was.
There has obviously been a lot of noise around this week, some of it potentially tongue-in-cheek, but England will have been relieved to have got things pretty much sorted heading into their final group game against Namibia, when all of that talk could have been a distraction.
Yeah, and you always, well, I certainly did, always had the feeling that they were going to win these last couple of games and win them very big. So I never really bought into the net run rate predicament that they were facing. That's the type of tournament. Antigua's a good wicket, and when you've got the artillery that England have got, they're always going to blow away teams at some point. So I think the external noise wasn't allowed in the England dressing room, thankfully for them.
I'm sure there would have been a debate behind the scenes about what England should do if they won the toss and sort of how best to maximise their net run rate. I think you were in a pretty similar position with Australia in that 21 T20 World Cup in the UAE. Is it just that much easier to chase when it's mapped out for you?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, especially when you've got such a potent bowling lineup that's got pace, that's got swing, great spin as well. So it just makes the equation a lot clearer for you as a team. Obviously, that's out of your control at the toss if it doesn't go your way. But I mean, it's still a chance for teams like England, who are so dangerous, so powerful, to have it mapped out. Because I think the last thing that you want is when you've got a team knowing what they can do to upset you, they can just forego the win and just get to a run, or sorry, the amount of runs that helps them or disrupts you. So it's really, really crucial, actually.
Just the four bowlers used in the end by Jos Buttler, it sort of felt like once the foot was on the throat, he recognised that the opportunity was there to go in for the kill and get a huge win.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the right move. You play all your aces straight up, and especially when they're on top. I mean, once you start getting into 7 and 8 down, wouldn't have mattered who was bowling towards the back end, whether it was Livingston and Mo. It wouldn't have really mattered. So good aggressive captaincy. I like the fact that Joss had a couple of slips in place for majority of the innings as well. So yeah, really dominant performance.
Adil Rashid was named player of the match for his 4 for 11. He didn't have a great day against Australia in Barbados, and was sort of outperformed by his opposite number in Adam Zampa, but he sort of showed his quality today against the team who he would probably expect to do well against.
Yeah, he was at his best today. I mean, his googly was coming out beautifully, which you expect, and that's a good sign that he's bowling well when his googly is coming out. And he spoke after the game about just subtle variations that he had and a different line that he had to bowl because the wicket was spinning so much. And he was excellent. He's back at number 1 in the world bowling or T20 World bowling rankings. 3 leg spinners at the top of the list as well. So it's great to see, and he's a great person to watch when he's up and about.
You mentioned liking England's selection today, picking Reece Topley. They could easily have left Mark Wood out, but they went for leaving out Chris Jordan instead, and Wood, I suppose, vindicated that call, took 3 for 12 and his 3 overs and 50 T20 international wickets with it. Yeah,
it was. I think it's the right call. I mean, power play wickets are so crucial in this tournament, and I think Reece Topley gives England a better chance to knock over an opposition at the top. Yesterday, Wood and Archer did the damage early on, but Topley was still outstanding with 3 overs up front. The ball moved, he gets bounced. So I think it's just adjusting your thinking in a T20 game. You know that if you don't get wickets early on, that doesn't matter who's bowling at the death. You could have Jasprit Bumrah bowling at the death, and they're still going to go around the park if you've got set batters. So I think it's a really good selection from England, and I think it helps complement the other bowlers in the attack. He's a point of difference. He's left arm. He's an exceptional bowler as well.
There was obviously all this talk about whether Australia could potentially be in a situation where they might ease off against Scotland and only win by a certain margin to knock England out. But with net run rate seemingly now out of the window, they'd have to throw that game altogether, and that, to me at least, doesn't seem like a particularly realistic scenario for an Australian cricket team.
No, absolutely not. I think in isolation, if you read the quotes from Josh Hazlewood, you'd look at it and you think, geez, that's dangerous. Not sure why he said that, but I mean, if you watch the full interview, then it is a little bit clearer. It was the context that it was in. Australia will just be able to continue their momentum. You can't afford to take anything for granted because Mother Cricket will come and bite you.
And just to finish with a word on Oman, obviously started with that super over defeat in Namibia, then they put up a pretty good fight against Australia. Not quite so strong against Scotland, and then today it just sort of looked like a game too far for them, really.
Yeah, it was a big class gap, obviously, with the reigning world champions England. But there was glimpses right throughout the tournament that they showed how capable they are in this format of the game, and they've really impressed people. I was really surprised with their disciplines, but yeah, today it all fell apart. And but right throughout, I mean, they showed great fight in the first game against Namibia. 14 overs, they were well and truly in the game against Australia, and then one drop catch just changes the whole complexion of the game and the whole momentum of the game. So they should be really proud of how they've played. Obviously, two solid performances and two ordinary performances, but I think that's just reality of associate nations when they come up in a tournament like this, and you're going up against guys bowling 150. That's not something that you get too often anywhere in the world, let alone at associate level. Or and just remember, these guys are still working jobs, and it's a semi-professional game as opposed to a fully professional game in a lot of other areas. But they should be really proud, and they've given themselves a good hand at this World Cup.
So England bounced back with a commanding win in Antigua. Aaron Finch, thank you very much for your time and for joining us on the ESPN Cricinfo.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
वॉचो ऐप पे देखो एक OTT के दाम पे सारे OTT शान से।
Watch